Before we dive into today's episode, I want to remind my listeners that the views and opinions expressed by my guests are strictly their own and do not reflect the views, opinions, or policies of their employers or organizations. The Hit List Podcast is a platform for open discussion and diverse perspectives, and I encourage you to engage with the content thoughtfully. Now, let's get started. Hello everyone, my name is Jason Ramirez and welcome to another episode of the Hit List Podcast, a podcast where me and a guest cross out films on our watch list and discuss them. This is Season 6, Episode 3. Today I'm joined by VisDev production assistant at Nickelodeon Animation Studio, Mónica G. Rodríguez. Welcome, Mónica. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being on the show. So before we get started, I usually start with two questions, a little bit of icebreakers for my guests. My first question is, what are your viewing habits? When you sit down to watch a movie, do you stick to your favorites or watch something new?
I usually like watching something new. I don't really like repeating things unless it's something extremely nostalgic, but I usually like different genres and something that fits my mood.
So what type of genres?
Right now I'm into dramas usually, and I really like cooking shows. So like when it's later at night, I like to kind of view stuff that's relaxing. So the British Bake Off, that's just kind of relaxing. Chopped is really cool, but that's sometimes too tense. And also I've been really into interior design just because I live in a rental and I really want to make my apartment feel less rental. So I've been watching a lot of interior design videos on YouTube and obviously animation, but I try to keep up with what's going on, but right now I'm watching Beef. I'm also watching How I Met Your Father. So it's like drama, cooking show, sitcom, I think is like what I do. I rotate in the week.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. The only thing I know about the Great British Bake Off is that like when they did like a Mexican themed one, and they cut an avocado and like they cut it straight through the seed. I was like, no! Why?
That episode was rough. That was rough. It was rough. They just like had such a small idea of the variety of cuisine. I heard that what was the fact? Just Mexican food is like something protected by UNICEF or recognized by you, something like that. I don't want to misquote. It's like it's such of a cultural significance that it's like a little bit more than other cuisines because it's so culturally important and significant. So yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, that was a rough one, and I didn't even see the episode. I just know about like just cutting through the avocado.
It was just no. It's good you didn't see it.
My next question for you is, what's something about you that people would be surprised to know?
Oh, man. What's something about me that people would be surprised to know? Well, this is kind of a funny one. I've lived in LA for almost 2 years now, and there's a big Armenian community here. And usually Armenians are surprised that I'm not Armenian. I guess I just look very Armenian. So that's something. I guess another thing people are surprised to know. I don't know.
That's a good one though. Like people think I'm Armenian, but I'm not.
Yeah, that's the most like recent thing that happened like that. Because otherwise, I'm kind of an open book, so I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it was sometimes like a habit of yours that you don't really like announce or broadcast it.
Oh, okay, a habit.
Or that's how I usually interpret it.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Fun fact about me: whenever we did icebreakers in school, like first day of class, to get to know our classmates, you know, everyone else dreaded it. I loved it because like I want to get to know my classmates. This is a quick way to get to know them.
My default in college was that I'm really good at Mario Kart.
Really?
Yeah,
okay, I didn't know that.
I'm pretty good at Mario Kart.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, I can say that one then. I'll shove it from the memory box.
Well, here we go. So today we'll be discussing Catwoman Hunted. Catwoman Hunted is a 2022 American animated superhero film based on a DC Comics character Catwoman by Bill Finger and Bob Kane and produced by Warner Bros. Animation for DC Entertainment. The film follows Catwoman as she attempts to steal a priceless jewel. The heist puts her squarely in the crosshairs of both a powerful consortium of criminals and villains and the ever-resourceful Interpol as well as Batwoman. This film was on Monica's watch list. Monica, why was this on your watch list?
I haven't really seen much of the, like I mentioned earlier, I try to keep up with animation. And I haven't really seen stuff from, I know that Warner's been really trying to, prior to the merger, I think, I remember they had announced that they were trying to make efforts in do more anime type of content.
Are you talking about the Discovery merger?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Warner Discovery.
I heard murder. I'm like, what?
Oh, no, I said, sorry.
Okay.
Murder. Yeah, so I remember I saw somewhere more anime content and DC animated content as well. I know that they've been trying to kind of expand that, and I haven't really seen. The last thing I saw was Young Justice, which I haven't finished, and I really enjoyed from what I've seen so far. So I just wanted to see something different. Also, Catwoman, like you mentioned earlier, she's not really a lead most of the time, at least in animated content. Yeah. So I thought it was just like interesting. I was like, I wonder if this has feminist tones to it. I do have opinions about that. I was just like, oh yes, I need to watch this, so let's just go.
Gotcha. So It's good that you mentioned Young Justice because the writer for this film is also the writer for Young Justice. And he did mention that this movie takes place in Young Justice, but it's like adjacent to that world. So I guess like a world that's like parallel to that world. So
makes sense.
And a lot of the voices were the same voices from the characters in Young Justice as well, except for like Catwoman. I don't even think Catwoman was in Young Justice, which is
I haven't seen her yet. Yeah,
it's kind of wild because like there's a lot of characters in that show, and I've never seen Catwoman there.
Yeah, that's true.
So, what did you think?
It was hard to get my attention on it. It felt episodic in a way, and I really liked it, but I didn't quite feel the build-up too much. It was just kind of slow, and not slow, but like, I always imagine like, you know, the storytelling structure, like you go up the climax and then you go down. So that mountain felt low, not as tall. I really enjoyed the backgrounds were really like, once you work I work in production and production management, in pre-production and a little bit of post. And once you work in production, you can't not kind of dissect things. Once you work in animation, you kind of just start dissecting things. So like I could tell like all the hard work everybody put in this movie. The backgrounds were really beautiful. Like I liked the cities. I think my biggest was why does Catwoman need to sound constantly sexy all the time?
Yes, thank you.
So
thank you.
So I was just like, oh, she's just, you know, she's in a party.
Right.
And then
she's talking to Batwoman and the agents, and she's still using the same sexy voice.
Yeah, it was distracting. That's the word.
Yeah.
And not good distracting either. Like I wasn't like, ooh, I want her to keep talking. And it's unfortunate because I saw the voice. I was like, I recognize this voice, and it's Elizabeth Gillies, and I really like her. I've seen her in Dynasty. Obviously I saw Victorious growing up. Right, so I really like Elizabeth Gillies, but it was, honestly, it felt like, I think the first 10 minutes in, I was like, was this written, who wrote this dialogue? A man?
Obviously.
Like, because it was just, I think that was like the main thing that kept making me distracted, and that's why when you started this question, I was like, because it was just, I don't know. I think it felt episodic. like not like a movie, but I guess if you view it as like a streaming movie, that's kind of like what you get.
Yeah.
You could argue that. I'm just really curious. Like, those are like my main reactions. I'm really curious why this movie was made. I wonder if it's like almost like a pilot to like a Catwoman-led series, because I know they did Harley and Poison Ivy show. So like, I don't know. It just kind of like, so what's going on? Like when the movie ended, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I pretty much share the same opinion. Like, I wasn't as impressed with this film. Like, it's like the type of movie like you want to like, but you're kind of disappointed that I like the product. Like, I like the ambition behind it. I like the casting of Elizabeth Gillies in the voice. I think she did well. But there's like, I don't want to compare her to what's his name, Kevin, the guy who played Batman in the animated series.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to compare it to that, but like the way he did Batman, when he did Bruce Wayne, his voice was much different than when he did Batman, you know? And it felt like her voice as Catwoman was always at a 10, right? And then there's there's only one moment where she switches up. She gets mad at Batwoman, and it's like, whoa, where the hell did that come from, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a character choice. I get that, but it's like, there needs to be more. People don't talk at a 10 all the time, you know?
Yes.
And
yeah, I totally agree.
You can't just have that like all throughout the film. Like, she's always at like this, at this level, like a horizontal level. Some people they ebb and flow. People like their voices. Like me, I kind of go back and forth, like from the mic right here, and you know, you can't really do that animation, but you guys know what I mean. Like, it just was constantly at 10. She was very seductive the whole time.
The direction was like, oh, make her sound sexy. I feel like that's what she constantly heard. Speaking of the voice acting, I liked the reveal that it wasn't Batman, that it was Batwoman.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Because I was just expecting Batman, because there's always tension between them. There's always tension between Batman and Catwoman. But her voice was a little funny. and then there was like her version of that. Her version of I'm Batman. But like like that's like her version was like doing this. I'm trying to talk like this, and I was like, that's kind of goofy, but okay. And
you know who she was, right?
The actress, I looked her up and I literally forgot.
It's Mirabel.
Oh.
From Encanto. Nice. Also known as Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Or is it Rosa? Is her name Rosa in that show? I really gotta watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But so what I thought was interesting, and I took a note. I said, LOL, Batwoman grunts in her fake voice. Because she, like, a couple times, like, she even, like, you know, they fight a lot in this movie. And even, like, she fell and she was like, oh. And I was like, oh, like, she grunted in her Batwoman voice. I don't know. Those are details that I pay attention to. Because it's like at first I was like, oh, that's a kind of a weird voice. But then they had that weird scene, which is probably the only reason that the movie was PG-13. And they had that like scene where Catwoman was trying to seduce Batwoman, and she took off her mask, and then she kind of like gasped in a different way and spoke in a different way. Yeah, I noticed that.
So I'm like, oh, okay, so that was when I was informed as an audience member, oh, so that goofy voice is like her I'm Batman voice, like her version of that. But I thought it was interesting that she's still like she's like method, like she fights in the fake voice. I thought that was.
I didn't even notice that.
It was a couple times.
I didn't notice that.
It was a couple times.
Like, I noticed like the little moan she made, like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't notice like the grunt she did it like in the Batman voice.
I mean, you grunt. I don't know. I'm pretty sure at least once I kind of heard it in the. It kind of reminds me of She's the Man. Have you seen She's the Man?
I haven't seen the movie, but like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so like it kind of reminds me of like making a woman trying to imitate a man's voice, kind of like, hey, what's up? Like
Like Mulan.
that type of. Yeah, exactly. Like Mulan.
I like the idea for like an anime and styled that they're
Yeah.
doing. It was really good. Like the design was really good, and they said like their inspiration was Lupin the Third. And there's like a movie called Castle of Cagliostro. I don't know, but like
Oh, I
it's one
haven't
of the
seen that
movies.
movie, but I'm familiar.
I seen
That makes sense.
I've seen clips of it, and even for like a movie from the '70s, it flows really well. And it's the type of it's the movie that inspired the Disney Renaissance to do better, even with limited resources. So I can see the inspiration. It's just that it wasn't. Catwoman is a thief, right? She's a cat burglar. That's her whole thing. So they should just make a heist film, not a superhero film. You know, she's a different genre of character. She's gonna be the lead. It has to be a different type of movie. You know, and it feels like they were doing that in like the intro. There's an animated intro that's like she's saving these girls from Sochi, which is like a very good story. In the animated, it looks like Cowboy Bebop inspiration as well.
That was also my first impression. I was like, oh, Cowboy Bebop. Like
Right.
even the jazz music. Yeah, totally.
And the heist where she's like stealing from like the party, which that was a very weird party. Like I'm not sure who the people were. They were cosplaying superheroes, but they were bad guys. But like, were they goons or were they like really rich people? I don't know. But either way, she's stealing from them, and it feels like that could have been the what do you call it? Like the pregame for an even bigger heist, which this film kind of missed. You know.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think that's the disconnect. I was trying to feel why I was trying to describe why I felt some sort of disconnect with like the character. Also, it's called Catwoman Hunted.
Right.
And I don't think she's hunted. I thought she would be chased.
Right.
Through like a chase movie, and she like no, that doesn't really happen. And the party was weird. I think we could have had better hints thrown to the audience, like, oh, this is a gala of goons and they're just cosplaying as superheroes. I don't know, something because I was so confused. Like the setting, like I was just very confused. And again, her voice was distracting. I was like, is she just costuming? And I'm not that familiar with Catwoman, but I have seen her in the PlayStation Gotham video games. Like she is a persona, right? Like I've seen her in the movies and live action movies as Anne Hathaway, and like I've seen her, but I'm not like, I don't read the comics. But like I think the persona here was pushed a little too far in the she like her personalities are woman who's always sexy. And that kind of irked me. And that scene in the party where she's like talking to people like, oh, you better be careful, I'll steal her away. Yeah. Aren't thieves supposed to just blend in and not bring attention to themselves? I don't know, I thought that was just weird. Why is she so cocky? I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
I put that she's too cocky. I put that too. And there also doesn't seem to be any tension when she was making these quips, right? Usually, like when like I hate comparing her to like other male superheroes, but like when Spider-Man makes these jokes, like he'll joke with like the villains and like he'll say like a pun, whatever. There's actually some tension there because they might kill him, you know. Here it's like she knows, she won't die, like she knows she'll get away, and she does, you know. But like, there's a way you can do that better, but it wasn't really done well in here. And I'm not sure how it could have done better because I'm not an animator, I'm not an animation director, but it could have been done better.
I think she just wasn't. She seemed a little too simple as a character. Just a couple of tones. Like I did like that throughout the movie, they kind of show that she does have a good side to her. That she has like this bigger purpose of protecting the girls and the women, victims of human trafficking. So I like that they really tried to add tones, but it was. I think I'm not particularly sure either how it could have been done better, but there's a fine line between confidence and cocky. Like,
Right.
it was a little too much that it was, like, not charming anymore. Sometimes it was like, oh, yeah, she's so badass. But other times it was just like, can you stop talking and just, like, get to the point? Like,
Right.
I also have a note of, like, there's too much dialogue and fight scenes. So, like, at one point, do I like this? Like, I really don't know if I like it. I just know that today wasn't really, I saw it this morning to have it fresh. I just know that today, maybe I just wasn't in the mood to see that. But maybe I would have liked it another day, because it kind of reminds me of how in comic book they're fighting, they always have, like, silly little lines like, go to whatever, like, just silly lines. So I don't know. I thought, like, there's too much dialogue in the middle of fights, and, like,
Right.
that's not realistic, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't, like, what was it trying to do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like
Confused
we
me.
kind of discussed, like, what we didn't like, but let's talk about stuff we did like, though.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you like about this film?
Okay. I really liked the character design was really nice. I like that Catwoman outfit. I really do. She does not have heels, that's something I always look out for. It's like, why? Like, why do they give them heels? I do have a comment about the breast sizes, which is always something, but it's always interesting if you look at who draws those things, and, like, who's the art director, like, how much they pay attention to some things versus others. And as a woman, and, like, as a little girl growing up watching animation, I'm just kind of tired of seeing the same body shape over and over.
Right.
Especially superheroes. Like, you don't think they have muscles? Like, they have skinny little arms. Like, Catwoman is fine because she's, like, that's her thing, right? I liked that Batwoman was very tall. So that's my comments about character design. The soundtrack was nice.
Yeah, it was a really good soundtrack.
I really liked the music and the sounds. I liked the car chase scene was cool and interesting because they used cars were 3D assets. That's always interesting when they do that, and I think they masked it really well to, like, fit in the 2D realm. I really liked that theme of her rescuing other women, because I think that's something that is part of Catwoman's persona, that she is very feminist. You know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, there's kryptonite. Like, like that. I liked that it's like doing good in a real, like, very unfortunate real thing that happened. So that was cool, because in superhero movies it's a lot of fiction. So I liked that. What else did I like? Let me see my notes.
I will say something I really liked is, like, when they got heavy into Japanese inspiration. And what I mean by this is when the villains powered up and suited up right in front of Catwoman and Batwoman, and there was one
fun.
of, like, it looked like I think it was straight out of, like, might have been like Sailor Moon or something like that, and they transformed into, like, a giant robot. Not like a giant robot, you know, and then, like, there were, like, these monsters like were summoned as well. Like, you can see the inspiration from, like, other types of anime from, like, the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
The other one was, like, when Cheetah was there the whole time. Like, oh, that was, like, I was actually, like, genuinely surprised, like, because, like, when she had pointy ears the whole time, I didn't even think much of it. I'm like, you know, hey, you know, people have their own things, you know. I didn't think too much of it. And then when she turned into Cheetah, I'm like, oh, she looks like that one lady from Devilman Crybaby. Have you seen that show?
I have not, but I know about it.
Yeah, so she looks like one of the Devilmans. I think I know who you're
talking about.
And like she's like that. I'm like, yo, okay. Yeah. So I did like that final fight scene between Catwoman and Cheetah, because, like, she did get injured and she's like not even trying to, like, overpower her. She's just trying to run away and, like, outsmart her. Even though I don't think it would, like, even though I would have preferred, like, a different, like, ending, such as, like, a heist type of thing.
Right.
For what they did with that final fight scene, I did like. There were some unnecessary parts like the Solomon Grundy showing up out of nowhere. I'm like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why is he here?
That was very confusing. But there was something I wanted to say that you said that I liked. The transformation. Yeah, I thought of like Gundam.
Yeah.
I thought of just the Power Rangers in Japan is Super Sentai, so it's like that type of vibe. Like, I thought that was interesting. I do agree with the Solomon Grundy thing. I was just like, all right. Like it was a little random, especially this is something that I don't know how to word it, but I just think it's a little odd when they I don't know how to word it, so I think I'll just state my confusion that and agree with you that was quite random.
Yeah. Also, like, I thought that Cheetah died when she was like, impaled by those spikes, and then they showed her like going into the hospital, like the hospital van or whatever.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I'm like, oh, that's a pretty. I even right here, I have it written down in my notes. Damn, the way she just died is fucking brutal. And the next one, wait, she's still alive?
Yeah, you're totally right. Oh my gosh, I was something that I was just very, ¿cómo se dice? I was very confused about is like the movie almost had classic Western cartoon goofy tones to it.
Right.
Just like that type of comedy. And I'm like, why? Like I like paused it at one point and went over to the description. I'm like, this is PG-13? And I just thought that was interesting. Like, why is it PG-13? Like, you could just maybe open up the audience a little bit more to like PG, because I don't think it did not have curse words. I mean, it had violence, but like, and probably when she like the parts, I could say there's 3 things that made it PG-13. That scene where she's naked, but they don't show her body like at all. Not even like they show her a little bit of like cleavage when she's in the tub, but like everybody does that. Sailor Moon does that. Right. And that scene. The other scene was when she was fighting which one was it? She was fighting a villain. I forgot who it was. And Whale. She was fighting Whale and she like stabbed him a couple times. Right. And they like show those stabs and they show blood. And the third part that made it PG-13 was probably like how she was impaled. Sheeta was. But I think, like, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. Oh, another interesting thing that maybe I'm not familiar with Warner and, like, their standards and practices. And I don't know how they handle that. But I do know that some shows for more kid audiences, more maybe, like, yeah, just not teenagers under 13. They're a little wary of showing alcohol, and there's a scene where she pours herself like champagne or something. Catwoman pours herself champagne, so that may have been another like PG-13 point. But that's one thing that confused me a lot. I just didn't understand I'm not sure it was clear who this was for. Right. Yeah.
That's a good way. I didn't even think about like the rating as well, because like once I turned 18, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. It's legal for me now. I can go to a movie theater and get a rated R ticket now. Yeah. All right, that's something to really consider about. Like, why is it PG-13? It could have been edited down to PG. All right, so I feel like we kind of discussed everything that we needed to discuss about this film, unless you have like one final thing you want to talk about.
All right. I may have some things that... the cat. Like, come on. That was super adorable. Isis. I liked that. I loved that. I really like cats, and I thought that was cute. It kind of reminds me of the new Batman movie, the latest one with Robert Pattinson. How she was just like a cat lady. Like, she had a fuck ton of cats. And, like, I like that. Like, I like when they play into their gimmick. Right. And there's a line actually about that, about like like, oh, this is my gimmick. Like they kind of break the fourth wall a little bit there.
Where she's like, "Oh, you're a cat blogger. That's your whole thing."
Yeah, yeah. But other than that, like it was enjoyable. There were some things that confused me, but I just realized this movie doesn't have many incidentals.
What's that?
Incidentals are extras, just like background characters. And I just realized sometimes it felt a little empty.
It felt, yeah, it did. Like they crashed the car into like the Italian city, and there weren't people there.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there's like a whole
because I was gonna say
crash.
that I liked that they tried to make it global, that it was global, but then I don't know how.
Here's actually I did notice this too. Here's how I thought it. This movie takes place during the pandemic. That's why people aren't out.
Sure. Yeah. let's go with that.
Like people aren't out because they're all worried about the pandemic.
Yeah.
People who are out are being irresponsible. Like they know it's there. They're not masking. They wear masks, but they don't cover up their mouths for some reason.
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that. And let the bad guys, since they're bad, they're in that party doing a super spreader event.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I was gonna say something. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, okay. So I'm not against Elizabeth Gillies voicing Catwoman, like again in another project.
No.
I'm not against that at all. I think she did a really good job. She just, I don't want to say better direction because I don't want to insult the director, the voice direction of this film, but she did a really good job, and given like the proper direction, that's even more insulting. But I think with a different director, she'll be amazing as Catwoman. I think she still is, but right here it was just like it's like the sounding board, if that makes sense. Like it's like the first draft to her getting into it. So I'm definitely not against her being Catwoman again in another film, another animated film. You know?
Oh, totally. Even in person, like in live action. I mean, like I really like. She's a really good actress, and she also has a beautiful singing voice. I did like her, like Catwoman. I like we've discussed. It was just kind of odd how she sounded. Very
the same.
Yeah, like the same
level.
Yeah, level.
After our break, we're gonna go right into production. All right, we're back, and we're gonna talk about the production of Catwoman Hunted. So I'm going to start with a little bit of the publication history of Catwoman, because I want to. That's literally just it. So she was created by Bill Finger and Bob Kane, and she appeared in DC Comics, commonly associated with Batman, and she debuted as the Cat in Batman #1 in spring of 1940, and she's one of DC's She's one of Batman's most notable enemies and belongs to a collective of his adversaries that makes up his rogues gallery. But she's also been depicted as an anti-hero, best known as being Batman's most enduring love interest, with many stories of them being together and their complex love-hate relationship. And she's been featured in many media adaptations related to Batman. In film, I guess first she was portrayed with the casting of Lee Merriweather in Batman, which was the 1966 series with Adam West. And then Michelle Pfeiffer portrayed in the character for Batman Returns, Halle Berry in the Catwoman movie, and Hathaway in The Dark Knight Rises, which is the one I'm most familiar with, and Zoe Kravitz in The Batman most recently, after she previously voiced her in the animated film The Lego Batman Movie. And in live action TV, she was portrayed by Julie Newmar and Eartha Kitt as well, and also by Cameron Bicondova in Gotham, that TV series that ran from 2014 to 2019. And this movie is actually like her first animated film as the lead animated. So it was also premiered. It should have been like the 80th anniversary from her first publication in 2022. It's like the same year she was released. It should have been like, it was like the 80th anniversary.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So we mentioned this already, but Elizabeth Gillies was Catwoman and Celine Kyle in this film, and Stephanie Beatrice was Batwoman, Cat Kane in this film. So about this film, Gillies said, Well, the role came across my desk and I was so excited. I have always wanted to do something in the DC universe. I'm a big fan of Catwoman. Weirdly enough, I was Catwoman for Halloween 2 years ago. Maybe I willed it into existence. I loved the script and any opportunity to play Catwoman, I was down. I was really excited to get involved. Greg Weisman, who's like the writer, he was part of the casting decision like over like the early days. Sorry, not discussion, casting discussion. So, you get the regular people like Keith David, Steve Bloom, Eric Lopez, Jonathan Frakes, people he's worked with over and over again in multiple projects. But the two leads, Elizabeth Gillies and Stephanie Beatrice, he never worked with either of them before, but he wanted to work with them. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, he wasn't in the recording session with them. So that was a bummer for him.
Aww.
And as far as her inspiration for the voice of Catwoman, Gillies reveals, I was always a fan of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, and I used that as a jumping off point, but I sort of found my own way with it. I knew I wanted her to have a sexy, raspy, seductive voice. Our director exaggerated even more and had me lean into it. Once I saw the final product, I could see how that worked. It feels like Catwoman while also feeling new and working for this new story. And
excuse me?
Yeah.
I think it's Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Michelle.
In case you want to do another like take.
No, we just leave that in.
Okay, cool.
There's a running joke with this podcast. We're like, I'm just terrible with names.
It's a weirdly spelled name. I only ever heard Michelle Pfeiffer, and then when I like Google her, I'm like, huh? Like it autocorrects me. I spell it like with an F, but that P. So it's weird. But
it's a running joke.
Okay, cool.
I pronounced the Daniels' last names incorrectly like a couple years ago. The guys who directed Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
It's like since season 1, it's been a running joke.
Okay.
So she says she liked the final product. I think, to be honest, that's just like, stuff you say for like the media to promote it.
It's not.
It's not bad.
I just don't think it's not for me, like the audience. Like it was enjoyable. Like I would love to see it with a younger person sitting next to me. Like I'm very glad I saw it, but right. I want to like experience it through another lens because it does have like, oh, they're so badass. Like look at like I just imagine my younger self like, oh, I want to be strong like her. Like she's still so like pretty and she has short hair, which is really cool because like I don't know, you don't see that many female characters with like a pixie cut or superheroes. It's always like luscious hair. Yeah. I did want to mention that for the audience, they should see there's a scene of Michelle Pfeiffer with a whip. Like the actual actress learned how
Batman
to
Returns.
Yeah. She learned how to use a whip, and there's this famous scene that she does, like she whips mannequins' heads off all in one take. And that was just like there's a behind the scenes like footage on YouTube, and everybody should see that because it's so impressive. It's just so impressive. Like how did she learn how to use a whip? Like what a skill to have.
I've also seen that. Like I was always impressed it was one take, but if I remember correctly, was that like the first take?
Oh yeah, I don't know if it was a one take, but it was just I'm
gonna look that up real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, because now maybe I'm remembering. Yeah, so just like Michelle Pfeiffer, like Catwoman whip, because I don't want to like misremember the context of that, but yeah, it's a very impressive video.
I just see on Entertainment Tonight, she achieved a stunt in a single take, followed by a crew giving her a round of applause. I don't see that if it was like the first take, but it was a single take where she did that.
Yes, yeah. So that's probably it. That's just very cool, very impressive.
As far as like the art style of this film, OLM, the Japanese studio behind the Pokemon series, provided their animation services for the film with their team house. And the movie's styled after classic anime, a decision that was part of the initial pitch. And Greg Weisman recalls that they wanted to do an anime. And one of his favorite anime films is Lupin the Third, Castle of Cagliostro. And he thought that Selena was a perfect character to carry that kind of film. And I agree with that too. It feels like she's a great character to have an animation style film, especially if it's inspired by Lupin the Third. So Elizabeth didn't know it was animating style until like late into the recording. And
That's funny.
She says she was doing her final round of ADR. Eventually, she's like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Sometimes, like, there's a shift in direction, or usually actors come in the storyboard phase, and then they come back in for ADR when there's animation done already. But yeah, so that's usually how it goes. Like,
that's really funny though.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I have. That's all the stuff I could find about production. Usually I could find more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very curious to... I think what I'm most curious about is that, especially what you mentioned earlier, like, it got me thinking that when I said that I didn't really notice incidentals and that it maybe took place during the pandemic. It was probably made during the pandemic. And I wonder,
for sure.
And I wonder how much of that limited or enhanced the production. Like, I wonder what context happened, because I'm sure that a lot of the things that we have said as stuff that we might not like too much or that we were a little confused about, I'm pretty sure that they're aware. Sometimes some decisions have to be made, and sometimes some things, like, just don't work out. So, like, I wonder, like, what the deadlines were, like, what sort of challenges the crew went through working with a vendor studio abroad during the pandemic, like, abroad. Because in my experience, I've worked with studios abroad, but they're in Canada, so, like, they're not that far. So, like, I just wonder, like, as someone who is a fan of animation, like, as a kid, I just always gravitated towards cartoons more. And someone who is now working in animation, it's very interesting being on the other side and being like, if only you knew. Like, to audience members, it's like, if only you knew how hard it is to just create something out of thin air. Because, like, the biggest difference between animation and live action is like in animation, you don't really see anything. You're kind of working with things out of thin air. So in production management, there's a lot of asset management, just like tracking that things are being done. But it's like, it's just kind of like a thing until, like, the character designer or the prop designer or the effects designer designs it, and then we send it to paint, and then they have to color it or paint it. So it's just very it's a lot of hard work, and I wonder how much time they had to make it, and I wonder how much time they made it in.
Right.
Because it's a lot of challenges. Talking about this made me realize that I did not mention, I really like that they went the 2D route. I really like 2D. Right now, if you look at, like, what's going out right now here, there's animation, there's a lot of 3D films, and that's really cute. I love 3D I just love animation. But don't let go of 2D. Like, just... So I really like that they, like, went that direction and tried that, because I think action sometimes, depending on what type of action, but, like, classic superhero fight action, it just boards, as in storyboards, better in 2D, in my opinion. I just really like that. So it's interesting. I would like to, like, learn more. Maybe I can ask a friend if I know someone who worked in Warner, and he worked in a DC project, so maybe he knows someone in that movie, and I would love to know, like, what happened and what are the next steps, because I think that's, like, right. I think that's the main thing that I had spoken about earlier. Like, what are the next steps? I think that's the thing that I was talking about earlier, like, is this going to be a series? I think if it's a series, I would see it because I think there's room for character development, and I think a show can provide that instead of a movie. Because that's something also, like, she seemed a little... We saw Catwoman. We saw hints of who she is,
right?
But not really. And if it was in a show format, like, maybe we will see that. And also, she said at the end of the movie, Catwoman said that she was going to stop in London. I have no idea what's there. Like, is there a superhero or someone based in London? She said something about the big tower.
I think she's talking about, like, the clock tower.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe she's going to steal stuff in the British Museum. I don't know.
I mean, as if it's not already stolen property.
Exactly. I was gonna make a joke about it, but I'm glad you took it.
All right. I like what you're saying. Like, I think if it was a show, I would like it a lot better too. It feels like it's great potential to be a show, and they should really run with it. And if they do it, lean into like the heist, lean into like the crime. You know, she's a cat burglar. She's not a. I don't want to say she's not a superhero. Like, I guess she's considered a superhero, but it's like with Captain America: Winter Soldier. That was a spy thriller, whereas with Thor, that was like a story about gods and and Guardians of the Galaxy. That's like a space opera.
Right.
So it's like a different. They have the opportunity to do different genres with these different characters, and
right.
It's a huge opportunity. I don't think they're. I'm not sure if they're gonna do it in the future. I'm not James Gunn. I don't know what they're up to. I'm not a part of that world, not yet at least. But that's something it's a huge opportunity that they're missing if they don't lean into that.
I thought in the beginning, it was kind of a noir, but then that kind of died out, and I don't know. I think I am more curious to see something like that. It kind of, when you say heist, like make it into a heist, that's always pretty successful. There's this Carmen Sandiego animated show on Netflix, and it got a couple of seasons. I think it went up to season 4 or 5.
Really?
And that's
really good.
Exactly.
For Netflix?
Yeah. So, and if not 3, but that's still really solid. Like, you're a successful show if you have 3 seasons nowadays. So that's ended, and I can't really think of any. And like, apologies to anyone who's working in any heist shows. There's just a lot of content out there. But I don't think there's anything currently right now that's like older kid content.
Like in animation specifically, right?
In animation for heist,
right.
Yeah.
I can't think of one either.
Yeah, no. So I think it would be fun. It would be fun, and like how she interacts with other villains or other allies.
Right.
Were you familiar if that? Oh, gosh, what was her name? The Bat Lady. Is she like new, or is she in the comics?
She's been around for a while.
Okay.
Oh, Nosferatu?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that's her first animated appearance ever. She had a few appearances in like the 80s, but that is the first time she's ever been animated.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I didn't know.
Neat.
I don't know who she was at all.
No, I thought she was neat. I did not like the weight joke. I think that's just tired. That's just tired. It's tired. Like, why? But I liked her character design. It's really cool. It's like Egyptian type of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, and I guess this is just like the DC Comics fan in me, but like Batwoman uses guns a lot more when she uses batarangs. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, you're right. You are right.
Yeah, but that's just me. All right, I think that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna end it right here. Unless, is there anything else you want to say before, or questions you have?
I just want to kind of, how do I word this? When you see an animated film or show, just like pay attention to the credits and pay attention to just how many people work on it. And yeah, just, I don't know. I feel like since this is kind of like a public space, and there's this recent conversation about how animation is a medium and it's not just for kids. I just wanted to say that because I feel like there's something really, really magical about being limited by a medium such as animation and coming up with creative solutions. And it makes up something even more beautiful. I think that's like nowadays we rely so much on just special effects and just green screens and that LED screen. There's something magical and more tangible and more special about stuff that comes up as a solution to a limitation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah? So I don't know. Just thought I'd say that.
With that concludes our conversation today. Thank you so much, Monica, for being here. We appreciate you being here, talking about Catwoman Hunted, as well as a little bit about animation. I learned a lot because I'm not in that world. It's not my world.
No, yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. Let me know if you have questions about animation. Is this where I plug myself? I don't know.
Not yet.
Okay, sorry.
All right. So, was Catwoman Hunted a hit or a miss with you?
Oh boy. I'm really sorry, but I think I'm gonna say it was a miss.
For me, it was as well. It was like I missed. Like it went over my head. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I try to catch it, but it missed.
I enjoyed watching it. I'm glad I did. It wasn't like a flop to me.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, what are you saying? I'm not like that. But it was a little bit of a miss for me.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
I apologize. I know how hard you must have worked for it.
So, do you have any pluggables for us today?
Yeah, sure. You can follow me on Instagram at con acento Mónica. CONACENTO Mónica. I don't. That's just kind of like where I try to keep up with more industry stuff, and I don't post much. But if you ever have any questions and want to learn more about animation, I like helping people, so you can reach out. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Mónica G. Rodríguez. I am particularly interested in helping fellow Latinos, so reach out to me. Please don't be afraid. As a Boricua Latina, I'm always here to help. And I want to plug the current project I'm working in. I am working in the Baby Shark movie, Baby Shark's big movie.
All right.
It's set to come out later this year. So I hope you go watch it on Paramount Plus. It's beautiful. There's going to be tons of catchy music. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to everybody's reactions.
I can already tell it's going to be an Oscar-nominated film.
Oh my gosh.
Grammys, here we go.
Grammys, maybe. We have Ashley Tisdale.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, we do.
Ooh, that's exciting. Okay.
It is. It is very exciting.
All right, so that's it for today, folks. You've been listening to the Hit List Podcast. My name is Jason, and until next time, cross off a new film from your list.
Bye. Thank you.